Hi everyone and welcome along to Betfair's preview of round 4 of the National Rugby League. I'm Mathew Thompson and Tim Gilbert joins me again after a mixed week last week. We got a few right, we got a few horribly wrong, and it's a tough week to tip this week. I
think it's tougher this week, Matty, and who would ever believe that Manly, the defending premiers, who were so emphatic in flogging Melbourne for the 2008 premiership, R0, duck egg, have not won a game, and they're playing Newcastle in Newcastle.
And they're playing poorly, and I don't think there's any doubt that the drama surrounding the club through the off-season and subsequently Brett Stewart not being there is a big, big problem for them at the moment.
Yeah, well, sometimes drama, teams can turn it into good form. Other teams get affected by it and they question themselves, and when you're not winning, you get nervous. And, well, Monday night against the Panthers, that was a different football team, that Manly team, at Fortress Brookvale as well.
Why don't we start with that game? It is a Sunday game. The Seagulls make the difficult trip up the F3 in New South Wales to take on the Newcastle Knights at home. They're a $1.54 favourite with Betfair at the moment. Newcastle at $2.46 in an important game for both clubs here, really, because Newcastle have been up and down. They've been hit hard by injuries, but we've spoken about the Manly plight. The favourites to win here, you think?
Yeah, well, Manly should be favourites, despite the home ground advantage. Newcastle, as you mentioned, have been struck with injury, but they were very good in the first half against South Sydney and Gosford last weekend. I'm finding it hard to split, but I mean, we can't sit on the fence. I think Manly, in a tight one, it'll go to Golden Point, Matt Orford to kick the field goal.
Oh, if that comes off, you're a genius. We'll go to Friday night, pardon me. I think everyone's looking forward to Friday night. This game at Suncorp Stadium. The Broncos and the Dragons, all the talk about Wayne Bennett going home. Ivan Henjak, the new Broncos coach, who used to play for the Dragons. We've got players playing against their old club here. A mouth-watering tussle this. $1.50 favourites, the Broncos. New second favourites to win the premiership too at Betfair. And the Dragons, $2.56 outsiders. I think the Dragons can win.
Big call. I don't think they can. I think the Brisbane will win this game. Ivan Henjak, as you mentioned, 11 years up there as an assistant coach under Wayne Bennett. Wayne Bennett did build the winning culture, virtually built the Brisbane Broncos. So for him to go back there, it is an amazing night. It is mouth-watering stuff. But I just don't think the Dragons have got enough points in them to beat this Broncos team that, again, were fantastic last week. They nailed the Warriors to make it 3 wins from 3 and stay on top of the competition table. I think they'll make it 4 from 4 with a win over the Dragons.
I like some of the changes he's made though, Wayne Bennett. Matthew Head comes in, he'll start at halfback, and Ben Hornby moves back to fullback because of the absence of Matt Cooper because of injury. Darius Boyd moves into the centres. I think that gives them a bit more strike in the back line, and I think the points might flow subsequently on an emotional night, but we'll wait and see. It'll be a cracking game regardless of the result. Now, Parramatta against the Roosters, the other Friday night game. Parramatta $1.74 favourites. The Roosters $2.16. They won last week, Parramatta. In fact, that was one of the worst performances a Parramatta team has produced in how long? And they played, 10 minutes of good football and managed to beat Canberra.
That's the difference to last year, though. In times gone by, particularly in this last 12 months, they were playing games badly and not playing 10 minutes of good football. Basically, for 60 minutes or so, they were ordinary, but they got it together, played 20 minutes of very good football, some promising signs with Eric Grove near to his best form, and who would question whether he'd represent again this year, because I thought he was outstanding at the back end of that game. So Daniel Anderson's got them gritty, and if they are going to win ugly like that, I like Parramatta for the back end of the year. They've got to obviously get their consistency going, but they're just showing that they've got enough there to beat the best teams in the competition, and they'll beat the Roosters on Friday night, in my opinion, because the Roosters had a difficult week. Nate Miles, Willie Mason stood down, and after their loss to the Tigers, I like the Eels.
Just an interesting little sidelight too to that Canberra-Parramatta game last week. They led 16-4 the Raiders and had a video referee decision disallowed. Would have seen them go further ahead. At that stage in the Betfair in-play market, Canberra were $1.01 and people decided to take the $1.01. Parramatta, $20 when they were down by 2 converted tries. They came back to win. So whoever took the 20s, well done to you. And that's the benefit of the in-play betting there with Betfair. So keep an eye on that, especially with some of these...
sipping a pina colada somewhere, I would suggest at the moment.
The people that took the $1.01, maybe not so much. Now, the Panthers up against the Tigers, 2 teams that recorded upset wins last week. Penrith at home, $1.96. The Tigers, $1.90 here. Penrith excelled in the wet weather, really, when the rain came at Brookvale Oval on Monday night. They showed great courage to beat Manly and the Tigers. Another gritty performance there as well, coming back to beat the Roosters.
Yeah, and the Panthers weren't awful going down the narrow under the Bulldogs the week before. But I like the Tigers. They started slow last week, but a lot of those young guys compose themselves, and with the assistance of the brilliance of Benji Marshall in a man of the match performance and Robbie Farah growing as a captain, they did what they needed to do and beat the Roosters, and I think they'll beat the Panthers in the battle of the big cats.
Yeah, and with there as well, the Tigers to win for me too. The Storm against the Titans, the Storm $1.22. The Gold Coast $3.90. They'll probably be opening in $5 come kick off. The Storm to win, obviously.
Yeah, Titans, they travel like fresh prawns, don't they? Get them out of the postcode and they are off. They really do need to start winning on the road. The Gold Coast, they're great at home, but when they get out of that area, they're just, and playing against the Storm, who were brilliant last weekend. Greg Inglis back to his best. Cameron Smith started the game at 5'8" and showed how talented he is and what a utility he can be. Cronk, Slater, too good.
All right, the Warriors against the Rabbitohs. The Warriors over there, $1.45 favourites. The Rabbitohs, $2.68. Look, I think the Warriors will win here, but I don't discount the Rabbitohs. They went over last year, of course, when they were on the back end of that terrible losing streak, and they were able to beat the Warriors in Auckland, which isn't an easy thing to do. They're ticking along all right, the Rabbitohs, I think.
Yeah, no, that second half was very good, and their little men tend to worry the Warriors, who can be big and cumbersome late in the game. I think the Rabbitohs might get this. I'm going to tip them. I think that the Warriors are probably down on a little bit of confidence after being flogged in that first half by Brisbane, and I think the Rabbitohs can get them. And particularly Brent Tate out for the season doesn't help either.
No, that's a big loss for them as well. On to Sunday, we've spoken about the Knights versus Manly. We've got the Bulldogs against the Sharks, $1.53 the Bulldogs, the Sharks $2.60. Their defence, outstanding against the Dragons, but fair dinkum. I mean, how are they going to score a try?
Yeah, that's their problem. Brett Seymour does come back, doesn't he, this week? And Trent Barrett has been listed. Whether or not he plays, well, that's academic. I think the Bulldogs have got enough to win this. The Sharks, unless they can turn it on its head, which they've done in the past. Last year they did. But I like the Bulldogs.
I think the Bulldogs might have a bit too much for them as well. And on to a Monday night football and a clash here between the Raiders and the Cowboys. The Raiders $2.16. The Cowboys $1.58 there in a match where they travel to Canberra. And obviously the home ground scenario has the Raiders in the market somewhat, but $1.58 the Cowboys, I'd be jumping out of trees to take that, wouldn't you?
Dropped a lot of ball last week, the Cowboys, after being brilliant against the Tigers the week before. Going to Canberra, I haven't seen the weather forecast, but if the temperatures drop, so different to North Queensland. I think they're good enough to win because of the Bowen Thurston factor, and the Raiders, they don't have a lot of Broadway apart from Terry Campese, do they? So the Cowboys to get them, but not convincing.
I'm going to make the Cowboys my best bet of the week. How about you?
My best bet of the week, I would think, having a look at it, I think Broncos over the Dragons.
There you go, and I've tipped the Dragons, so one's going to be right, one's going to be wrong. Betfair.com.au, the place to go if you fancy having a flutter on round 4 of the NRL. It's another great weekend of footy, so make sure you enjoy it, Timmy, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, enjoy your football.